I am not a gambling man. I don't like to blind buy things. Money's hard to come by, man. You don't just throw it at things. But I have to say, if I ever blind bought anything for multiple reasons, this would be it. This is the Moondrop Space Travel 2. And the fact is, there's a lot of issues with it. Like, it doesn't support LDAC. It doesn't support LC3, it doesn't support LHDC. In fact, it doesn't do any of the Ls. No high resolution codecs. You're stuck to AAC, and even on that, it only gives you about 5.5 hours to 6.5 hours of battery life, so nothing game changing there. That is with noise cancelling on. That's right, this thing has noise cancelling and transparency mode. But the transparency mode is one of those, it just amplifies everything and makes everything sound very unnatural. And the ANC is not great. It is noticeable, like in some situations, if you're in an air-conditioned room, if you're on a bus, then yes, you can definitely hear a difference. So it does something, and it does add to your quality of life, but I wouldn't call it great. So then why, despite all of this, am I still praising this thing to high heaven? Why am I so hyped? Why did I literally go immediately on X and post? It just sounded better when it was Twitter, no? No? Why did I post on X that it is, and I quote, fucking god tier? Because it is. Because this Bluetooth earbud does one thing that it's supposed to do from the outset, and it does it bloody well, and that is reproduce sound. And that seems pretty obvious, right? That is a stupid thing to say, isn't it? You'd be surprised at how many Bluetooth earbuds forget that completely. They concentrate on all that stuff that I mentioned before that the Moondrop Space Travel 2 does not do that well, and then they forget about the actual sound reproduction, which is ridiculous to me, and I'm sure it's ridiculous to you as well. And before we go any further, let me make this very, very clear. This is not going to displace some kind of flagship IEM. This is not going to, unseat the OnePlus buds, for example, for sheer technical ability, right? This is not for that. This is done on a very tight budget, but it shows you what can be done on a very tight budget. It's like if you have a muscle car that's American and it's got this huge engine, but there's just no chassis tuning, and then you go off the first corner and you're in the mud and you've totaled the car, and then there's insurance claims, and then they don't allow you to rent ever again, and then you're in, that. Anyway, that versus say a Mazda MX-5 with swapped out suspension, because stock suspension is too wallowy. I'm going off on a tangent again. The point is, do less with more and you will create something that is beautiful and will show people what can be done with less. Gives a new meaning to what your money can actually buy. That is what the Moondrop Space Travel 2 does for the Bluetooth IEM world. I guess in the audio world, you would compare it with like a Nothing Headphone 1. Very cool, uses high quality parts, great driver that's clearly capable of many things, but then at the end, every YouTuber has an EQ setting for the Nothing Headphone 1 that sounds better than the actual stock tuning. So yeah, that's pretty much a good comparison. This uses cheap parts and relies on good tuning. And good tuning is 80% of your sound quality, maybe 90% of your sound quality realistically. The rest comes with money. So here's what the Moondrop Space Travel 2 does. This is the frequency response. Now, if that is not something that you're used to reading, that's okay. This is the bass, the mids, and the highs. And basically, people like a bit of bass, so there should always be a bit of a boost there. Also, you need a bit of a boost when you're using IEMs, just to give you that feeling of a speaker in a room, because you won't get that with a little driver and stuck in your ear. The mids, this varies, okay? This varies a lot. All of this varies a lot depending on what the graph was made on. So my measuring rig is an older style measuring rig, but it's a lot cheaper, so I can afford it. But the one that Moondrop uses, that's top shelf, top of the line, the best thing that money can buy today. And the graphs look different, right? But the important thing is we've learned some lessons in these past few years on what the graphs should look like approximately, or what some basic tuning principles should be. Like, for example, the bass needs to be boosted, but how much of a boost will make a difference to how much distortion there is in the driver, but also how the boost is applied. If it bleeds in all the way up to like 600, 500 hertz, then you're going to get muddy mids. This doesn't do that. You can see it flat over there. That's a good thing. This is something that should be known to everyone, but for some reason, we're still in an era where people are doing some weird wonky things here. Moondrop knows better, does better. The mids, they sound natural, they sound effortless, they don't sound forced, not husky, not sharp. There's no treble spike, there's no exaggerated treble to make you feel like there's a detail, which I'm looking at you, Realme, Huawei, all those buds out there. looking at all of you, this is an example of what just good tuning sounds like. This is an example of what happens when you've got a nice smooth frequency response. You can hear a reasonable amount of detail, and that coming out of something so cheap makes you realize that we've been going about this all wrong. Just spending more money on gear acquisition is kind of pointless because a lot of that gear is just not tuned very well. This is also why I recommend EQ so much on so many of my videos, because so many Bluetooth IEMs and headphones require it. Not just could do with it, they require it. This one, I'm not going to recommend an EQ. I mean, I can tell you what you can do with it, or better yet, and this is the icing on top of the cake, you've got the Moondrop app. Now, the Moondrop app has always been a little bit buggy, and it still is, I'll be honest, but it does three interesting things that I would like to point out. Number one, it has a gain mode, low, mid, and high gain. And I think what they're trying to do here is eliminate sort of the compression effect that happens. So if you've got an Android phone or Windows laptop or whatever, when you raise volume, there's some compression applied, and you don't want that. So what you do is you use a reasonable volume level on that and use the internal amplifier of the earphone to amplify the sound without said compression. I think that's what they're trying to go for. Personally, honestly, the mid gain with medium levels of volume on my Android phone works absolutely fine. I didn't hear any compression, but that's kind of a thing that's a little hard to hear unless it's very obvious also, to be fair. But it's an interesting thing that they give you that I haven't seen on any other Bluetooth earbud that I have tried. Then comes two different types of EQ. Number one, you've got three presets. You've got the reference, bass plus, and bass minus. Honestly, don't touch the mids and the treble. This thing is it's just pretty right? There are different flavors, there are different ways you can do mids and treble, but generally speaking, a bunch of them that follow some general principles, like the Moondrop Space Travel 2 does, is going to sound good anyway. Some people like more bass, some people like less bass. They give you that option. And it's not a huge difference. It's a noticeable but small difference. I leave it on reference and I'm happy. Honestly, I think you will be too. But then we come to the next tab, and this one is really interesting. This is where kind of Moondrop shines. They have been cooking for a while, as they say. Wow, that was cringe coming out of me. But it's true. They've been working on this stuff for a few years now. They have a community, and you can log into this community and make your own EQ preset and upload it, and other people can try it, which is awesome because people have uploaded all sorts of EQ settings, and it's really fun to just download them into the app and try them. Then, and here's the fun bit, right? You have some really interesting options here. If you just go and click on this button, you'll see Target and Auto EQ. And this is really cool. If you click on Target, a whole bunch of options come up. Many of them are other Moondrop earphones, other Moondrop IEMs, which is basically saying, if you click on any one of that, like a Moondrop LAN or a Dust DSP, for example, you click on it and you get Auto EQ, and it will EQ your Space Travel 2 to sound like those buds. You can literally make these sound like anything else almost with EQ, which is a thing you've always been able to do, but Moondrop is bringing you that convenience in the app itself, which is awesome. So effing awesome. Before you buy anything else, just spend $30 on this and see if you like that signature. How is that not a freaking great value for money addition to this Bluetooth IEM? How is that not just, that in itself is just worth the money. Just that alone. You want to see what the Harman Target is all about. You want to try it. You want to see what the fuss is about. No problem. Go to Target, select Harman Target, Auto EQ, and it gives you a Harman Target sound. This is freaking awesome, but it gets even better. If you want to try out an EQ for yourself, if you want to mess around for yourself, then you click over here, you get these sliders, and they're not that many sliders, so it isn't as wide an opportunity for you to mess about. But if you click on a slider, you get to vary the Q setting and the magnitude, and then if you move the slider up and down, it shows you what happens on the graph. You change your Q setting, move the slider up and down, and wow, you figure out what a Q setting really does. This is incredibly educational. I mean, honestly, just forget everything else about this Bluetooth IEM and just concentrate on the EQ ability and what it does for you and what it allows you to do and what it allows you, how it shows you what you're actually doing on the graph is phenomenal. This is something that I've been wanting for years, and Moondrop clearly has been working on it, and now is just giving it to you. This is awesome, right? So here's the deal. Fundamentally, if you just want to hear what good tuning sounds like. It's not going to have the bass that a OnePlus Buds Pro 2 or Pro 3 has. It's not going to have the resolution in the treble like the Crinier Daybreak, for example. But you can make it sound like a Crinier Daybreak if you want to, and check if you want to spend the $170 on that particular tuning, which is not for everyone. I went and mentioned that on my review of that. Go check it out. My point is, you get great tuning, you get a really comfortable earbud, and you get some noise cancelling thrown in, all for less than $30. Therein lies the value straight away. But on top of that, you get to basically emulate a wide range of earphones and targets, and you get to explore the world of audio for so cheap. And then if you want to mess around with EQ and hone your EQ skills, this literally gives you the tools to teach yourself. I can imagine a teenager or someone in university or school just messing about this for hours on end and learning how to do EQ better than all of us YouTubers will be in the future. That's going to happen to somebody who has this. The Moondrop Space Travel 2 is the most no-brainer recommendation I can make to you or to anyone you want to gift this to. And if you'd like to win one, or if you'd like to win something more expensive, I'm giving away a bunch of stuff to my members. We've got about 25 members so far. We're aiming for 50 before the end of the year. So join up. It's $1 a month, $3 a month if you want to support me more, but basically you'll get giveaways at random. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, that was the Moondrop Space Travel 2. There's a link in the description. You can go and buy it, or use your own link if you don't want to use my affiliate link. That's fine. I'll see you in the next one. Stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.